What's up, guys? Welcome back to part 2 of my lawn renovation, or I should say part deuce, because I've got tons of crappy ponds for the compost I've been spreading down in the future of this video. So if you haven't seen part 1, I recommend going back and seeing that so you can see the build up and all the steps I have gone to get up to thus far to see what I have done to prepare the lawn, leveling it out, getting everything nice and pretty to put down the seed, put down the compost, get down some peat moss, the grass seed, and get everything ready. So hopefully I can try to get some grass seed germinated. So sit back and enjoy it. And like I said, if you haven't seen part 1, go back and check that out first. That way you are kind of on par with what I've been doing so far with the lawn.
So I just got back from Lowe's, got 30 bags, went for a new record. It's the Evergreen Compost Manure. I haven't used this brand before. Should be alright, I guess. It was a little bit cheaper than the Scott's that has a little bit of peat moss in it. So there was 30 bags. Already got a few in there, ready to go. That is a crap ton of compost and manure. Her Jeep absolutely accelerated like crap with all that crap in it. Yes, I've got a crap ton of puns. I keep this crap up all night. Alright, so all 30 bags are unloaded, and I got in trouble for all the compost and manure and the crappy pun jokes, and all that stuff in her Jeep. So I got it all cleaned out, had to vacuum it. I had one bag that actually busted on me, so I went ahead and threw that out here. The rest of it's in the garage, so I'm going to get some. Oh, I got some dookie on my shoe. Alright, so the compost manure is spread across all the area, all the way out the gate. Still not as much as what I needed along my patio here. I think that'll be okay. But this has really whipped me so far. I've just been absolutely drenched. I went inside for about an hour, grabbed some lunch, drink some water, and it's whipped me pretty good. After I got the top dressing down, took the lawn roller to it again, and I found out that after the lawn roller was sitting there, I don't know if there was some heat and pressure buildup within that tank, and it popped out the stopper, and so there was some water coming out of it. I probably lost about, I don't know, probably a good 5 gallons of water that was running down my hill. So I had to fill that back up. But I went across it again. Looks pretty good now. So what I'm going to do now is get my grass seed ready. I need about 16 pounds, 8 pounds per thousand, and spread that across, and then I'll use the lawn roller again to make sure that grass seed is pressed firmly into the ground. And then probably tomorrow, because I'm sure I'll be beat after using that lawn roller a third time, then tomorrow I will use the peat moss, spread that down. I have maybe about a quarter bale left, and then I bought another bale while I was at Lowe's this afternoon getting the compost. So then I will spread that across, and then start watering, and should be good. So I'm going to get my grass seed made up. So I did forget to add, so there's no footage of me spreading this the compost out because the memory card on the camera actually ran out. I just kind of let it run for a while, so I actually ran out, but you didn't really miss anything spectacular. I mean, I just used my lawn rake that I have sitting over there, and just kind of, you know, had the piles, and just spread it across evenly, and just rolled it out again, kind of like what I was doing before with the topsoil. Just taking a lawn roller over it. So. Alright, so the last time I put down seed, I had a couple passes. I did the whole front yard. It was 8,000 square foot. I did 4 passes. I had the dial set down to 2. On the first 2 passes, I did them as perpendicular passes, and then I cranked it up to, I believe it was 2.5, and then I did 2 more passes that were kind of diagonal to those first 2 passes, and that gave me 4 passes total, and it actually ran out perfect, so I had a perfect even distribution of the grass seed. However, I'm doing 2,000 square foot with 16 pounds, so having this sitting at 2 on my spreader setting, I'll be here all night trying to spread this down. So I'm going to crank it up to, I think I'm going to go with about 7, and do a couple passes with that. And as I see myself starting to get low on it, then I'll dial it back down to like 2 and try to get some more passes through with that. I just want to try to get it as even as I can, but I don't want to be here all night trying to do multiple passes. Alright, so now I'm just going through hitting some of the areas right along the patio where the spreader didn't get it. I had the edge guard on, but didn't quite get up against the patio, so I'm just going in by hand and sprinkling that along. Got the lawn rolled, completely worn out. This pretty well done a number on me today, but I do have one more thing to do before I call quits for the night, and that's spray some humic acid and sea kelp down. I can get through that pretty quick, so I will do that, and then tomorrow I will worry about putting down the tenacity. And it looks like the most of the yard in the back is dying off pretty good, so I don't think I need to worry about a second dose of glyphosate. So I'll just let that go. So I'll just spray the tenacity down, get a little bit of pre-emergent down, because I don't know what's in this compost or what was in that topsoil. So I want to prevent any of that garbage from coming up. So I'll spray that down real good, and then I will put down the peat moss and then start watering, and we'll be good to go. Alright, it is Tuesday, October 9th. So this is my last day off work to try to get the backyard done. So I've got two main goals today. One is I need to put down tenacity to prevent any weeds from coming up after I just put down the compost and manure and the topsoil. I don't know what's in that stuff, so I want to get down some tenacity to make sure any nasty weeds don't come up, and get that over top of that grass seed. And secondly, I need to get down some peat moss to keep that seed kind of in place, and keep it fairly damp, so we can try to get a little bit of germination. It's Tuesday, so I'm thinking maybe late Friday, early Saturday, I will go through and I'll put down some starter fertilizer on the grass seed. I want to wait a few days before I get that put down. So I've got a family coming over on, it'll be Sunday that they'll be coming over, so I need to find a way to try to keep them off the backyard. I'll be running my big smoker that I got sitting back there, and get some pulled pork cooked up. And so I'm sure some of the family will be back there kind of lingering around and kind of hanging out. So hopefully they stay off of it to keep any potential germinating grass seed from getting crushed. And after that, then I need to get the grass mowed, because I've been focusing all of my attention on the backyard, trying to get this done. Also, it's been beating me pretty bad. I think with my Fitbit, it said I had like 46,000 steps in the past couple of days. So it was quite a bit. But I still need to mow the front yard. It's getting out of hand. So I'll try to get that done today. So I'm going to get to that. Alright, so I've got my tenacity mixed up. I did 1 teaspoon for the 2 gallons of water here. So that is all in there. And got sidetracked. My garden faucet had quite a bit of a leak. Apparently one of the seals in it went bad. So I had to run up to Lowe's and replace that. Only took me a few minutes. I was going to replace the actual stem that goes inside of the garden faucet, but Lowe's doesn't carry an 18-inch stem. I have to get that specialty. So this is what's left of the seal that was in there. So I just pulled that off, slid a new one on, fired it up. Seems like it's working, so no more leaking. So hooray, I did a thing. Time to spray some tenacity now.
Alright, that part there, where I'm having to stop and constantly pump up my sprayer, that stinks when you have multiple thousands of square feet of yard that you have to go over. It's not as bad going across the 2,000 square foot section I'm doing in the backyard, but when you have 15,000 square foot and you want to do a blanket spray, that's no good. So I think I need to eventually upgrade up to one of these battery operated backpack sprayers. I think that the main popular one is the Chapin 20 volt. It has a wide mouth on it so you can fit tons of chemicals in there without spilling. And it's a constant spray, so you have constant pressure throughout the whole time. You don't have to stop and pump or anything. There is another backpack sprayer, I believe Paul's Prime Cuts YouTube channel uses it. It's the Flow Zone 4-gallon, and he made his own boom, so it's got, I believe, like 4 different nozzles on it, and he had like a 6-foot swatch pattern. So it seemed pretty nice. But I looked up the price of it, and that thing's like $300 something according to Amazon, versus the 20 volt Chapin is like 148. So I might be leaning more toward that.
Alright, so I got the tenacity sprayed. I actually worked it out pretty well to where I used all 2 gallons right when I ran out at the end of the far side of the yard. So I got a pretty good even coverage. Basically, since the dirt is fairly dark, I'm going across and spraying it. I'm able to see where I sprayed. I didn't need any marking blue or anything. Apparently some guy that has a YouTube channel, he must have bought it all. I don't know what that was all about. So I didn't have any anyway. And so I just kind of followed where the wet spots are on the lawn, and just kind of overlapped that just a little bit to make sure I had even coverage. Seemed to work pretty good. Like I said, I ran out right at the far side of the yard, so I had a perfect amount. So now for the fun part is getting the peat moss out and spreading that across the yard. So one thing I will mention is there's a couple good things that I had picked up, some tips that a few people had said. I can't remember who it was, but they said one good thing to do is take the peat moss, put it on a wheelbarrow, that way you're not having to bend over all the time. That's pretty wise information there. I probably would have been bending over, not even thought about it. Ultimately, what I would have liked to do is get a compost or peat moss spreader. Basically, it just looks like the lawn roller that you saw me using earlier, but instead it's kind of like a wire cage instead of just a solid metal drum, and you just load up your peat moss or compost or whatever in there, and then just roll it across the yard, and it puts an even amount of peat moss or compost across the lawn. But unfortunately, nobody around me rents them. And if I was to buy one, I think the cheapest was on like JCPenney or something of all places. It was like 113 bucks. But so if I had ordered one at the time I was going to, it was like 2 or 3 weeks out, so I wouldn't have got it in time. So I'm just going to have to be doing this whole 2,000 square foot by hand. So hence why I'm going to be completely covered in peat moss here shortly. Second tip that I was given that was pretty good knowledge was use the hose, put on like a mist setting, and then as I'm putting down the peat moss, spray it down to kind of hold down that peat moss. It is a little bit windy out today, so it'll keep that peat moss from being blown around, so I'll be doing that as well. When I'm putting this down, I'm just kind of doing the old Mr. Miyagi. He starts rubbing his hands together. Just breaks it down really good. We'll put a light layer across it just to hold the seed down. And once I get a couple good passes on here, then I spray it down with the hose. Which, because it's so windy, some of that peat moss just flow into the neighbor's yard, so they're getting free peat moss out of it. One of the good things about spraying this down as well, since I got that tenacity down, I wanted to act as a pre-emergent. Spraying this down with the water to hold that peat moss down. It's also getting that water in there, watering in that tenacity to work as the pre-emergent, so it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal.
Alright, so at that point, my camera died on me. So this little Picasso camera that I've been using here the past few weeks to try to record footage, had the little mounts and everything to mount to the lawnmower and spreaders and all that stuff. Mid-recording, when I was spraying that peat moss down, the camera decided to crap out on me. Unfortunately, trying to get it to work, no dice. I've been trying to get a hold of this Picasso support, try to get some sort of resolution on it. Yeah, is there a trick I need to factory reset it? I've done all the battery reset and all that stuff on it. Not working. So emailed their customer support, no response from them. So it looks like I have to send it back to Amazon, try to get my money back,
and then possibly, if I want to go through this whole possible issue again, order another one. But so far, the Acaso customer support has been just abysmal. They just lacking in responding back to anything when you call them. Sometimes you have to leave a voicemail if they don't call you back. The customer support people you do talk to pretty much know nothing. They're level 1 tech people, so they tell you to email their customer support, and then their customer support doesn't ever bother to email you back. So I might send it, or I am going to send it back. Whether or not I'm going to buy another one of those, I don't know. I might end up just splurging and get the actual GoPro, because I know that has a lot more support back behind them. So with that, the peat moss did get spread down. Watered it down as I was going through, as you saw that I was doing. It started getting where I was running out of daylight, so I started just hitting the areas that had the bare dirt on it. I didn't worry as much about the areas that had the grass on there, dead grass I should say. So I got that spread down. I was running out of daylight. It was supposed to rain the next day, so I at least wanted to get that down because I knew those would be the areas that would be more prone to getting washed out. So I did get that all done. There's a few pictures of that. So it went down fairly smooth. The next day it did rain quite a bit. I only found looked like 2 spots by the patio that had puddled up a little bit. However, it looks like the peat moss had kind of saved the grass seed quite a bit. Where it did puddle up, I looked at it the next morning when the water kind of receded back down, and the peat moss looked like it was mostly still intact there. So I believe the grass seed and everything was still all held in place. So that's good news. The bad news is, so today is the October 12th. Wearing the hooded sweatshirt down in my basement. It is right now it is 36 degrees out. You know what that means? When the ground temperatures get beneath 50-55 degrees, you're not really going to get much grass seed germination. So I think I'm kind of screwed. So the backyard might be covered in peat moss until the spring when the temperatures warm back up, or unless we get some crazy warm spell here in the next few days to where my temperatures go back up. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the cold weather is here to stay. So when I was starting this whole process, putting things down, there was no signs of temperatures dropping back down anytime soon. So I went with it, and then as I was ready to put down the seed, I looked at the weather again and noticed that the temperatures wouldn't drop. At that point, you know, might as well just finish it out and hope for the best. So it's kind of aggravating that, you know, I've been trying to get this project done since I think I signed off on the patio project on shortly after we got back from vacation in July. So July, I don't know, 6th or 7th, something like that. And it didn't get completed until the end of September. So 12 weeks, something like that. So that was pretty aggravating, knowing that I had to get this done before it got cold. And patio guys, there was a couple of days they could have been out, didn't. But they were, you know, washed out quite a few times. So, you know, Mother Nature kind of screwed us, really. So it's aggravating because I don't want to have, you know, a backyard full of, you know, just dead grass and peat moss all winter. But at this point, what can you do, you know? So I don't know. A couple spots in the backyard. My wife texted me yesterday when I went into the office, and she told me I had grass seed coming up already. It's only been 2 days. That can't be right. And she sent me a couple pictures on my phone. Like, okay. So got home and looked at it, and sure enough, there's little grass seed, you know, germinating in spots where I knew there was no grass. It's not like where there was dead grass or anything. It was spots that were backfilled. There was dirt there upon the topsoil that I put down on top of compost and on top of peat moss. So I knew there was absolutely no grass there. So there was something germinating. However, it was multiple blades coming out, so it didn't appear to be the fescue. And then talking to a couple of guys in the lawn forum chat, sounds like it might be, it's called millet, which is just, I guess, a grain used for like pastures for feeding animals and stuff like that. So the compost manure that I put down probably had that millet in it. And then this stuff apparently germinates really quick. So 2-day germination, I've got, you know, some sort of grass I didn't want coming up in my backyard. Which sucks, because the whole point of me renovating this whole backyard was to nuke everything out, start fresh, and have only this GCI grass seed back there. Lesson learned, I guess. Don't use the cheap evergreen compost manure that you get from Lowe's. There was some bags of the Scott's lawn topsoil that they had there, but I don't think they had enough bags, plus it was like double the price. Maybe I should have paid double the price to not have this this issue. So, lesson learned, I guess. So don't put the compost manure in your yard from a unreliable source when you don't know where the crap is coming from, pun intended. So I guess this is where I'm going to end up for the week. I do have to try to sneak out sometime today and mow the front yard. It's getting crazy long. I didn't get to mow it after I finished putting down the peat moss because I finished it up in the dark. And so I'll call it for the week. And if there are any updates with the backyard, then I'll post up another video with any sort of backyard updates. But it's getting close to Halloween now, so I need to focus more on the front yard, get the front yard ready for Halloween. And so I'll see you in the next video.